Welcome to Mortgage Mom Wines, a weekly podcast with real and relatable talk and advice for real women. I'm your host, Megan. Grab your extra large coffee or glass of wine, no one is judging, and let's grow together. Hi, everybody. We are here for another episode of Mortgage Mom Wines. I'm your host, Megan, and today we are going to sip and save. We are going to talk all things saving with the amazing Kim Burbank. I have met Kim through some local networking groups that I'm a part of, and she is just absolutely incredible, shares a passion for finances like me. I'm going to let her kind of introduce herself, and then we're going to get right into it, learning how to save, why it's important, and at all stages of life. This isn't just for young people. I don't care if you're 10 years old or 50 years old. We're going to definitely share some savings tips and tricks for you. So Kim, tell us a little bit about you and why you got into this realm and what you do.
Thanks, Megan. So I went to school actually to be a teacher, and I have my teaching degree, and my father is a retired police officer. Started approaching me to come join him so he could leave his clients when he retires to somebody he trusted. But I was working in a bank, and at that time it just wasn't right. So I eventually did join him. And the passion for what I do, being that it's not what I started out doing, is the education piece of it. So it ties back to what I went to school for.
Yeah.
It's educating everybody on things that I know about that I didn't know about at one time, that I learned from my dad or other advisors, that I feel everybody needs to know.
Yeah.
And you get it. I don't feel everybody needs to be an expert on all things. So
right. We wouldn't have jobs, right?
Right, exactly. And that's where I'm like, let me help you. Like, let me give you the knowledge of it, and then let me help you implement whatever it is that you need to do. So the education piece, and then I love figuring out puzzles. And so that's kind of how I view people's financial plans, is it's just a giant puzzle based on all their different goals and values and points of life, and we figure it out. So,
right. And I know right now where we're at, things are expensive, right? Inflation's at an all-time high, and people are probably thinking, my gosh, Megan, a lot of people are paycheck to paycheck, can't pay their bills. And so like, here we are talking about savings. They're like, how am I going to save? What am I going to do? So like, I kind of want to debunk some myths, and I'm sure you hear this all the time. I hear it all the time. Like, I don't make enough money to save, or, well, what is $5 a week going to do? Or what? So why is saving essential? I mean, we know we need to save money, right? But let's dive deeper. And I want you to share why saving is so essential, especially today, like now more than ever. And just some basic like fundamentals of saving.
So I opened my very first retirement account when I was making like $5.25 an hour and 10 hours a week at 17 years old, because my father told me I had to.
Yes.
So I literally looked at him and said, you want me to put $25 a month into a Roth IRA? That's like my whole paycheck.
Yeah.
Outside of gas. And so I get that. But what a good rule of thumb is pay yourself first, and then everything after that. And I know that's easier said than done.
Say that again, though. What did you just say?
Pay yourself first.
Pay yourself first.
Yep. And even if you get started at the bare minimum of $50 a month, then at least you've started. Okay. And once you've started, it's easier to add on.
Yes.
And harder to stop, actually, because you're already forgetting about it. You're already thinking, and then every time you get a raise, increase it.
Right.
But it's so much better to get started as young as possible. But then I don't want to hear also, well, it's already so late for me. I'm already in my 50s or my 40s, and I didn't start this. Okay,
I hear that a lot too.
10 years, right?
Yep.
Don't wait another 10 years. But and then why I totally implore sitting with a financial advisor is, you don't realize the things that an advisor can see that you don't recognize, because this is what we do for a living.
Right.
So when I first got started, I helped a friend of mine save $500 a month. And Megan, you're never going to believe it, but you're going to be proud, by looking at his interest rate on his mortgage.
Yes.
And I said,
See?
oh my gosh. And now that just paid for the life insurance that he wanted to get because he has 4 kids and add more to his retirement plan. Like there, I found the money that would be paying him back and his family
Right.
back. And
So he's
simply,
not missing anything, right?
no.
You found a way to save him $500 a month. So
Yep.
he had that 500 extra dollars a month.
Yep. So that's why
Wow.
I really suggest sitting down. And I mean, there's also so many fun ways or different ways that you don't realize that you can do both things at once or whatnot. And when I'm saying that, it's like life insurance and saving for retirement, like just little tricks and things like that that we know as professionals because we do this day in and out and we educate ourselves on it on a daily basis that
Yeah.
you may not know. And so there's ways around this that you can go about. One thing that I've added just recently and I got excited, I switched banks and I saw that my new bank offers it and I got very excited. I round up with my debit purchases.
Yes, that's a great tool to start saving. Young
Yes.
people listen to this.
I mean, it's not a big deal. So I spend like, okay, let's say I spend $60.58. Okay. So now I can't do the math quickly in my head, but the difference between 61 and $60.58, it's just a couple change, is going into a savings account.
32 cents.
Yeah, I could
Yeah.
use it for, yeah, 42 cents. I could use it for um my Disney trip or Christmas, like anything. It's
You're
just
not going to
anything.
miss that 32 cents is the
Won't
point.
miss it. And
Like,
it's just going to go ahead and slowly add up. I don't even look at the savings account frequently. And then when I do, it's like, oh, wow, look at that. It went up a few
yeah.
bucks. Why
Yeah.
not? Every little penny counts. So,
Right. Exactly. And I just made a video about this. Like, yes, saving cents here and there, $5 here, $50 a month. Is that going to save you $30,000 in a year for a down payment for a house or a big investment or no, right? But what it's going to save you is $1,500 for your earnest money to purchase a home or to invest into a different account or to go on vacation or something like that. So I think oftentimes the misconception is, well, I can't save a lot of money, so I'm just not going to save at all.
mhm.
And like, imagine if we said that with anything else, like exercise or food, like, oh, I can't eat a big meal, so I'm just not going to eat it all. Like,
Yep.
what?
Yep.
It's so silly, right? But that's how we think. I think when it comes to savings is we don't see that, we don't get that instant gratification. And we live in a society where it's like we need everything right now, when in reality, all we need is a little bit of patience.
Yep.
Retirement, when you're 17, retirement's a long way away.
Yep.
It's
Yep.
a long way away. So like, obviously we know the advantages of starting investments at a young age, right? The compounding interest, all that kind of stuff. And we, talked about some hesitations, whether they think they don't make enough money. I get this all the time because I recommend every single person should have a financial advisor.
Mhm.
Whether I tell them whether they make $10 an hour or they make $100 an hour. So what would you, I guess the question I kind of want to ask is like, do you have any success stories of people who started young saving, or what do you like when young people come to you? Or like, do you accept young, because some financial advisors only take a certain type of client. Like, tell us about what you look for, what
So
in
you're
your
right.
business.
Those are crazy misconceptions. I have a lot of people that say, well, I don't make a whole lot of money or I don't have a lot. So
Mhm.
I don't really see the need to talk with you. No, if anything, more than ever, you need to talk with me.
Yes.
And I feel like also some people think it's going to cost money to sit down and talk with. No, no, just come talk with me. And then we discover what plan works best for you. Um, and that's what's I think aggravating because I see people who absolutely need to be talking to someone and they're not because they have those fears or misconceptions. I just had a 21-year-old install a dishwasher in my house this morning and I looked at him and I said, "How old are you?" And he's like 21. I was like, "Mm-hmm." And we
Young.
somehow got to talking about money and he's like, I'm making pretty good money. I was like, "Yeah, and you're young. Now is the time to do it." I said,
Yes.
"Stock your money away for retirement so you can retire early."
Yeah.
And when a young person walks in my door, I want to hug them because I'll be
Mhm.
honest, I was not that wise at
Me
that
either.
age. And my dad, yeah, forced me to open that Roth IRA at 17. But even still at 2021, I was kind of rolling my eyes. I mean, I was still contributing to it. Did I increase it? No. Do I kick myself? Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so I just look back and go, so when a person comes in that's doing it, I want to hug them.
Yeah.
And
And
I'm
there's
like, anything, let's figure
you
it out.
you were blessed enough to have like it's awesome that your dad made you do that. And but I think we have a whole generation of people, especially older people, right? They were promised Social Security. Or
Mhm.
as young people, maybe we don't have the parents. And I'm not blaming parents, but some
No,
parents don't have the education, right? So they
right.
don't know what they don't know. And I mean, we have this knowledge. So yes, we're going to pass it to our kids, but creating generational wealth and all of that starts when you're young, and it starts with one generation.
Yep.
So if anything, even if you're older listening to this and say, like, if you take one thing away, please take away like teaching your kids what you
Mhm.
know, if anything,
And
right?
it's
So we can
okay to
break this
say,
cycle.
and it's okay to say that you don't know,
Right.
but go
Right.
seek somebody, go talk to someone and learn with them if you want. It- we're also coming from, yeah, people dependent on Social Security or whatnot. But even in generations of that were used to pensions,
Mm-hmm.
that's not the case so much anymore. I
Right.
mean,
Or the pension's
states
not
are
enough.
no,
That's
or
not
that,
the case. That
yep,
is the case right now. I feel like pensions aren't
yep,
enough.
no. So, I mean, and what I also suggest, and this is for any age group, because the other thing is when you're saving, you also have to think of how are you going to take the money? How are you going to take your money out for whatever goal it is that you're saving for?
Right.
So you have to think of ways that what's the best way to invest it? Is it a short-term goal, long-term goal? But also, how am I going to make sure, is this a guaranteed income stream for myself, like a pension would be? Or is this just going to be my vacation fund? Or
How risky it is, right?
but when you meet with an advisor, I recommend talking not only about that stuff, but also your goals and your values, because I feel like your advisor needs to know. I know when I meet with people, I cannot possibly recommend the best way of any strategy unless I know what are they saving for,
Yep.
what's important to them, and let's now form your plan around that. So, and I feel for younger people, actually for all ages, younger people, it's great because it helps them get on the right track of their goals and find a person that they trust and can go to.
Mm-hmm.
Older people who are looking at retirement or are in retirement, they face of what are they going to do in retirement?
Right.
And that's something that people don't discuss. People are always just like, oh, I got to save, save, save.
Yeah. Millennials,
But
are you
that's
thinking about what you're going to do in your retirement? Like,
right.
do you know? Or are you just going to say, like me, I want to travel.
Hmm.
Do you know? Do you want to travel? Do you want to stay at home? Like, you have to have all these conversations. Such a
Yes,
good point. You
it
have to
is
know.
it's a huge point because you know what? You could have more than enough money, but for what?
Right.
Or I have people that come in and go, I don't have a whole lot. Well, what is it that you want to do? Well, I have just a couple hobbies, but that's about it. Our house is paid off and this is great. And okay, well, then you don't really need a whole lot of expenses. So
Right.
actually, what you do have is going to be just fine and your lifestyle is not going to change.
Right.
So it's it's interesting because it goes from every stage of life, there's a new set of goals and a new set of values. And that's where I say your advisor, when you meet with them, should be discussing these with you.
Absolutely.
And that goes with the savings bucket because I don't know what you're saving for unless we discuss this stuff.
Right. And
And
how do you know? It kind of brings me to the next thing I wanted to talk about was what saving options are out there.
oh gosh.
I mean, there's so many, right? We don't have time. Everybody
No.
listening is probably like, oh my gosh, we're going to go. No, we're not going to go through everything, but I want to go through a few general savings options and just I want you to share with us what they are, but also what you just said is really important. Your financial advisor, whoever you're investing with, needs to know your goals and your value. I love that you said values
Yep.
because how are they going to know what products to put you in and what's going to work best for you? They need to know your how comfortable you are with taking risk. I mean, this is your hard-earned money. Some people are
Hmm.
going to be more liberal with it than others, and some people are going to, it just depends on your style and your goals and the outcome that you're seeking. So give us some savings options. I would say just we'll go over a few like for every level. Like a young person coming in who has a salary job, or maybe give us like a middle of the road, and then what you would recommend for an older just some savings options that are out there.
Sure. So I'm going to backtrack for a quick second on the values. So I didn't really actually talk about the company I work for, but Thrivent's who I work for. And Thrivent is a Christian-based organization. They've been around since 1902. But
Wow.
where the values comes into play is Thrivent's also very big on generosity. And so that is why it is a major forefront in my mind when I talk with clients, because I have a lot of clients where generosity and giving back is a huge, important part of actually their financial plan.
Yeah.
And so you're absolutely right. That's where the values really comes into play, because now you see, you know, if your advisor is truly understanding if that's important to you and that needs to be a part of it. You know, there's might be somebody else that's not a big deal for them. Okay, but their value is their family. So now I'm going to make sure that the generational wealth is tax efficient and makes sense for the next few generations, and not just, you know, ready for just that person to just spend, because no, they made it clear to me that their value is to pass this on to their family.
Their long-term plan.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, but as far as savings goes, see, and that's where this comes into play, and meeting with a person, because I had no idea when I was younger that a life insurance policy could be an interesting place to save money, a permanent life insurance policy. And even possibly a tool for supplemental retirement income.
I never knew that either. We were just told term life insurance, you know, you follow Dave Ramsey or whoever it is. And nobody ever told me any other options till I sat down with somebody like you.
Yep. And so that's an option for people, you know, who can't contribute to a Roth or whatnot. And again, when you discuss this with your advisor, that's something that they can run that option for if that fits better in your needs, or in your goals. Another option is, you know, an annuity. People hear things about annuities and it might not work. Well, okay, again, goals. This is where it all comes back. I don't know, an annuity for a person who has a very, very healthy pension might not be needed. But for a person who has nothing, may be needed. So again, just talking with your advisor about goals and whatnot helps figure out the appropriate savings instruments.
Tell us what an annuity is. So we know what life insurance is, right? It's insurance in case you pass away, for the most part. Everybody kind of has heard the term life insurance. What is an annuity? Just kind of a quick little definition.
Is also kind of an insurance-backed, like investment type product. So it's not, you know, with life insurance, you pay a premium and then immediately you have a larger death benefit. And if you were to pass away, even after that first premium's paid, that larger death benefit's paid out. An annuity, it is usually at that face value. So if you put 5,000 in, it's the death benefit right now is at 5,000. So, but what there is on annuities is there's usually guarantees that other investment products such as mutual funds and stocks and bonds and things like that don't have, and that's where the insurance backs it up. But because of that, annuities tend to have a little bit higher fees than the other products. But that's because it's ensuring like guarantees, like a death benefit and maybe a guaranteed lifetime withdrawal payout, which then can serve as a pension for a person. So, but those are the more, honestly, I like to start with a simple savings account. Have a simple savings account. Everybody needs to have a simple savings account for an emergency fund. How
much do you recommend for an emergency fund? If somebody's listening and they're like, I don't have an emergency fund, because I recommend that in my budgeting. When I teach people how to budget, I'm like, first step, you need an emergency fund.
So anywhere from 3 to 6 months of your expenses, not your income, of your expenses. So this is where it gets tough. You need to sit down and evaluate, where are you spending your money?
You need a budget. I talked about this a few weeks ago on YouTube.
And I like people, like, I get it. Trust me, it's tough writing that stuff down. And so I also implore you, if you have a bank and you have online banking, I pretty much guarantee that more than likely your online banking will have a tool where you can see where your money is going.
The pie chart, it breaks it all down and tells you you're spending too much, right?
Like here's eating out and you're like, So
how do you feel about high yield savings account? I'm on a high yield savings account kick right now. Like you said, 3 to 6 months in reserves, right? Is a high yield savings account a great place to put it, you think?
I mean, again, if it's for short-term goals, why not? You know, would I say a high yield savings account is a great place to put your retirement funds? No, but
Right.
again, but that's why I say start with a savings. That's the simplest and quickest way. I have one for my kids, even though I have college funds for them too, because they see the money go into the savings account, trying to drill it into their head. It's
Yeah.
being saved. And now once it hits a certain amount, we're going to go ahead and invest it. So now it can grow faster.
Yeah.
Um,
Can you explain, speaking of growing faster, we're talking about high yield savings accounts and all these things and retirement funds. Brief explanation of how compound interest works. Like Einstein said, compound interest, I know it's a loaded question, but compound interest is the eighth wonder of the world, right? So what is compound interest? Like, how does that even work?
So if you have interest on, oh gosh, how do I break this down? This is a difficult one.
I know it's a tough one to kind of break down, just at a high level overview. It doesn't have to be any
So basically
number
you're
examples.
earning interest on your, basically on your interest, like every day. So if you put money in, I have a beautiful chart that I show young people. If you start putting money into a retirement account at, I think it was like 21, I don't know, I have to pull it up. And you only do it 10 years and you stop making your contributions there. Okay. Because of the compound interest you've put in, I think they have you putting in 6,500 a year. And because it's earning interest this year and then earning interest on that interest next year, and it just keeps going and up and up and up. Even after you stop at 10 years, it compares you to a person who waited those 10 years, started when you ended, and then continued to contribute all the way until they retired. You, that person, because of compound interest, have more money than that person who waited 10 years and put in way more. Just because it earned interest all those years on top of the interest that it earned, and it just kept growing.
Right. So compound interest is interest that it does that. It compounds. It keeps adding and adding and adding. So every month you're getting more and more money for less and less work.
Yep.
Right.
Yep. So if you're making 10% on a dollar, that's 10 cents today. Now tomorrow you're making 10% on a $1.10, and it just keeps going and going and increasing and increasing. So, and just keeps adding to it. It might even be the same rate, but you're just adding more because it's taking a percentage higher value. So
that's awesome. And at compound interest, like I said, eighth wonder of the world, we got, all day long, if you can get into account. So that being said, like I wanted to touch too on, we've said Roth IRA a couple times so far. Touch on what, because I feel like that's the common one people hear a little bit, but what is a Roth IRA? What are the minimum contributions, the tax benefits? I know you're not an accountant. We're not accountants here, people.
No.
But
no tax advice here. Just what a Roth IRA is, it's a retirement vehicle. So what a lot of people, so this is fun, tying the savings into the retirement vehicles. A lot of people are under misunderstandings that, well, I have a 401k. Well, what's your 401k in? Is your 401k a mutual fund? Is your 401k a money market?
I'd be willing to bet most people don't know.
They have no idea because they just think that the 401k is the actual product, the savings product.
Right.
So there's savings products, so like savings accounts, money markets. I told you mutual funds and bonds and annuities. That's the actual savings product. A Roth IRA is like a 401k, a traditional IRA, 403bs, pensions. Those are actual retirement, I call them shelters, okay? So that's the title that tells the government, this is a retirement account, and this is how you're going to tax me accordingly to it. And the requirements that I have to fit in for this particular retirement account. You can take these savings products and you put that tax shelter roof over it. And you could say, this savings account at my bank, just a statement savings account, is my IRA. And that's that. So when you say Roth IRA, what makes that different from the other retirement vehicles, like a 401k, a lot of people know what that is a Roth IRA, you put in post taxes. So your income taxes come out of your paycheck. There's no pre-tax money coming out, it just comes out. And then out of your checking or savings account, you make a contribution into your Roth IRA. So you've already paid your income taxes on that.
Yeah.
Now it's
government's already taken their piece. Yep.
Government already took it. And now it grows and it's growing tax-free. And when you retire, you don't pay taxes on it. So you don't pay taxes anymore on what you put in. and you don't pay taxes on the growth.
That's
And that's a
amazing.
huge part, because in a 401k, you pay taxes on what you put in because you didn't pay it, and you pay taxes on the growth as well.
So how old do you have to be? You have to be 18 to start a Roth IRA? That's a
Well,
loaded
actually,
question.
technically, not really. You just have to be working.
Right.
So if your 16-year-old is doing work for you and you're paying them and the government sees you're paying them, as long as they are working and they have to make the same amount of money or more of what they put into it. So if a 16-year-old wants to max out a Roth IRA at $6,500 for the year, they better be showing the federal government that they made $6,500.
$6,500. Right.
Yep.
So the max you can contribute per year is 6,500 right
As of
now. It
now,
changes every
under
year.
under age 55 and older is 7,500. They call it the catch up.
Yep.
But yeah, it changes
Is
usually
there a
every
minimum?
2 to 3 years. The minimum over with Thrivent to just open an account like that is $50 a month
So
or
for $50 a
$1,000.
month, I can start saving.
Yep.
And it doesn't cost, I don't pay you. I don't,
No, so the fees with where I'm at come out of the product, and that's usually generally, and in any investment, usually that's how it works. I mean, there's other ways of going about paying financial advisors, but that is usually, and in our case, that's the case. It would come out of your product, and you would see that in the fees that are tied into your mutual fund or whatever that you open up. So
right. That's awesome. So you're not, it's not like there's the consultation fee or anything like that. So there's no reason not to get started, you guys. I mean, $50 a month, we can do that. We can find it. If not, reach out to one of us and we'll help you in your budget. Somehow get that $50 a month. I don't care if you're 50 or if you're 15, we will
yep.
figure it out. We will
And
absolutely help you figure it out.
you won't hear from me. I mean, a lot of people might say, well, stop drinking the Starbucks and, there's your 50.
Yeah, I hear that all the time. Ugh.
What you would hear from me is, oh, you're having Starbucks every day. You still need to have that. That is your livelihood, but maybe cut it to 3 times a week. And now
Yeah.
there's $50, to be honest, like easily. But I do believe that people still have to indulge themselves. That is their
Yes.
livelihood. So that's why you're working so hard.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to we're going to recap. I mean, we could talk about this. I'm such a nerd. I could talk about this all day long. But just to recap, you guys, it's never too young to start saving.
Yep.
You never make too little money to go talk to a financial professional like Kim, right? Compounding interest is the best thing, and you want your money to work for you. And I'm going to add another thing. We talked about education in the beginning. Do not invest blindly. Like that's not just an opinion, that's a fact. Like you should never go into any kind of real estate transaction, 401k, investment. For the love, how many people put all their money into crypto and then lost it because they just don't know? They're just doing it because their friend told them to. Nobody's financial situation is the same. Please don't invest without education.
Listen, as quickly as compounding interest can grow your money, it can crash your money too. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's a huge thing. You have to be talking with a professional and get that consulted. I mean, last year in 2022, everybody was in the red. Everybody saw that their accounts went down.
Yeah.
Okay. If you were talking with a professional all these years, you should have had peace of mind still going through that, because if depending on the goal that money was being saved for, it should have already been planned for and prepared for. I mean, there's no guarantees with any of this.
Yeah.
Yes, it can grow very rapidly and it can go down very quickly. However, with that said, with reward comes risk, but if it's a long-term goal like retirement and your planner knows this, you can ride out those risks for a greater reward later on.
Right.
Again, though, not something to be doing without the advice or the help of an advisor. I don't try to self-diagnose myself. Don't get me
Right.
wrong.
You're not a
I do try to
doctor.
look this stuff up. I go to a doctor though. I mean,
Yep.
I'm going to go to the doctor to find out why my stomach's bothering me or my head is constantly hurting, and not sit here and hope that the, Excedrin rides it out all the time. So I advise that with your money too. I
Yeah.
mean, your money also helps create your health. So
That's a great analogy. Like financial health is so important for our mental health, our physical. I mean, because stress, right? Money is stressful. What we do for a living, like I help people get loans for houses, one of the biggest purchases they'll ever make in their life and biggest stressors aside from wedding and children and death, right?
Yep.
And you help people manage their money, which money equals stress to a lot of people. And I mean, this is going to sound so millennial and so cliche, but I always say more money, more problems. Like Notorious B.I.G. said that. I say that. It's so true. More money, more problems. I wish I could like play his music in the background right now, but it's true. So you need the advice and the guidance of a professional. I can't emphasize that enough. And if you didn't know these things or just these little tips and tricks that we've been talking about this last half an hour, please share this with your children or get your children and you maybe go together. Learn your finances together. It's never a bad thing to schedule time with a professional to sit down and take the time to get educated on these things. We can't stress the education piece enough.
Yes.
So, and Kim, I want to thank you so much. I know we're already out of time. It's crazy. It's been 30 minutes. We'll have to have you back on here to talk about other things because I feel like we just touched the surface of all the things. I mean, we could life insurance and annuities and all these things that I just geek out over, but
College planning. Yep.
Yeah.
Retirement, all of it. Yep. 100%.
It's so uncharted waters, but I think we have a good starting point and some good takeaways. So thank you so much for being willing to come on here and take your time. You guys, Kim, how do we get a hold of you?
You can find, I have a website. Oh, goodness gracious. Of course, I don't have it all up in front of me, but if you Google Thrivent, Thrivent in Kimberly Burbank, my office is in Lockport. You will find
We'll
me.
share it in the show notes too.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So please. And that's the best way. Email, text, phone call. But yes, you'll get a hold of me either way.
Yeah. And if you guys reach out to me, I can get you in touch with Kim and get you started on a path to saving, whether it's for a home or for whatever retirement, whatever it is for your future, protecting your family with life insurance. Kim can definitely help. And it's something that every single person needs. It's not a want, it's a need, especially now with this inflation and this economy and, you know, all the debt that we're carrying as a society currently. So thank you again, Kim, for your time. It was a pleasure. I'm going to get me a big glass of wine now because money is stressful. So we're going to, like I said, sip and save.
No, Megan, thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Anytime. Cheers.
Bye.
Thank you for listening. Follow this podcast for more real life and real talk with the occasional whining thrown in there. Red or white, the choice is yours. See you next episode. Cheers.